Hello, hello, everyone. It's Dr. B from Steps to the Future coming to you with a Facebook Live and also on YouTube, College and Career Conversations with Dr. B. I am so excited to be bringing this guest back to you in the form of a replay because she just was promoted to this wonderful position. And I thought it was so important that all of you have an opportunity to hear about her again. So, what my goal is, once she settles into her new position and gets everything going and what have you, to hopefully have her back on. But welcome for those of you that are joining in. This is a replay. This is with Dr. Jamila Simpson. I'm working on all this technology, making sure that, okay, do I have the screen share set up correctly? Will folks be able to hear it? I'm still going to be here in the background, so you can still put in your comments and what have you. But I really wanted to reintroduce people to Dr. Jamila Simpson. She's one of the people that I met during several occasions when I've had the opportunity to attend professional development at North Carolina State University, and it was all around diversity. So when I first met Dr. Simpson, her position was the Assistant Dean for Academic Programs, Student Diversity, and Engagement. And recently, North Carolina State University gave her a new position as of December 1st. She is the Assistant Dean for Inclusive Excellence for the College of Sciences at North Carolina State University. So you're going to have someone in place who is going to be working diligently. Not that she wasn't before, because that's what her work always involved, DEI initiatives in getting students ready in the College of Sciences. And you'll get to hear her backstory. So once you hear her backstory and the work that she was doing at North Carolina State University, you'll understand why this is so important. Now, this interview actually took place in June 2020. So, like I said, once she gets up and running and everything gets going again, I'd love to have her come back and talk to us about how this new position is going and what she hopes, how she hopes to make a difference, because she always makes a difference. So I am going to see if my technology skills are still with me. So I am going to try to move to this screen so that I can share this with you. And if for some reason that you can't hear it or see it, please somebody let me know. Let me know, let me know, let me know. Okay, so I am going to start.
My newly created YouTube channel, so you can look for it there. And I do hope that you take this time and this opportunity to share this out. Remember, I'm looking for you to, throw some love up there, throw some emojis up there. Also, make sure you, throw some emojis up there, and then make sure you go ahead and like and share this also. So I want, yes, Joy, turn the fan on. Also, if you have any comments or questions, please make sure you put them in the comment section. We definitely would appreciate that. I am so thrilled to introduce you to my guest this evening. I had the pleasure of meeting Dr. Simpson for the first time at a North Carolina Career Development Association conference. And she was one of the keynote speakers. And I was just so enthralled with what she was saying. I just loved everything that she did that day. And I became like, a Dr. Simpson groupie. And then I had the opportunity to see her again at another conference. So I just thought it was absolutely fantastic that you folks would have a chance to meet someone who I think is one of the unsung heroes in the education profession. So I definitely would like to introduce you to Dr. Simpson.
Hi, everyone.
So, Dr. Simpson, could you tell people a little bit about who you are and the work that you're doing right now?
Sure. So first, I want to say thank you so much for having me. This really is an honor, and I'm so excited to get to talk to other people out there. So I really do hope if people have questions, they'll send those in. I'm sorry, would you repeat the question?
Oh, just tell us, what your position is at North Carolina State University, the type of work that you're doing right now.
Sure. So my title is Assistant Dean for Academic Programs, Student Diversity, and Engagement in the College of Sciences at NC State. And I know that's a very long title, but basically what that means is I'm the Assistant Dean who handles all academic processes in the College of Sciences. So students dropping courses, study abroad paperwork, all that kind of academic administrative paperwork goes through my hands. Student diversity. So part of my responsibility is to recruit, retain, and graduate students that are underrepresented in the sciences, and that includes Hispanic, Latino, Black, African American, Native American, and Pacific Island students in the sciences. And then student leadership and engagement. And so I am the advisor to several student organizations on campus. So I help mentor them and help them find their focus and kind of how they want to outreach to the greater College of Sciences community. And then also engagement. And so doing career fair for the college and other kinds of workshops on wellness and all sorts of different things that I think students in the college might need to have a more holistic experience while they're at NC State.
Okay, wow, that keeps you pretty busy. So now that we're in this COVID thing, or even pre-COVID, what was the typical work day like for you, or is there such a thing as a typical work day in your line of work?
I'm glad you asked that. So there isn't a typical work day, and if anyone was to sit in my office, they would see that. My goodness. So, of course, you have to check your email, but if the student needs anything, so I have a door open policy. So that means if they want to come in and just tell me how their day is going, if they need something, my door is always open. And so colleagues will come in, students will come in, other administrators will come in. Sometimes I am sitting with students and helping them create a game plan for their life. But sometimes I'm helping administrators create a game plan for their departments to be more inclusive, or how we can best help the college feel like a home and a community. We have about almost 4,000 students in the College of Sciences. Okay. So we are consistently trying to think of ways to engage students and make them feel like they have a smaller community. So I mean, a fun day could be that we have an ice cream truck outside, where all the students in the college get to come and have that for free, just so they can have community and get to meet the faculty and staff in the college. There could be another day where I'm doing a call-a-thon and I'm talking to underrepresented students and I'm answering questions about NC State. Or it could be I'm bringing alumni back so they can talk to students and share their journeys. One thing that's really important to us is that students always have access to us if possible, and then that they feel like our office is home. And so even if I was in a meeting, everyone in that office suite understood that kind of motivation about our office being a second home. So the environment reflected it. So you would come in, you would see a popcorn machine because we would have snacks. You'd see a basket full of snacks for students because we know that some students either don't have the time or the funds to always eat. So we would have some not healthy snacks, but we'd also have some healthy snacks in there too for students. We had a secret nap couch. So we had a couch around the corner where no one would see you. You could take a nap between classes. We had couches so that you could just talk with other students. We had a little refrigerator for drinks, and we have a table for studying and just socializing with other students. And so, again, really just a second kind of home environment And everybody understands this. So even if I'm not present, the upperclassmen are there, the office staff and colleagues are there, and everybody cares about how all the students are doing. And so that a typical day is hectic and filled with students and wonderful.
Okay. We had a comment from someone who said this made him miss the second home.
Oh my gosh. Hi, Elliot. Love you too. So this is one of my students.
Okay. Thank you, Elliot, for joining us. Also, Deborah Franklin joined and said hello. So thank you, folks, for joining. Please make sure you like this and share it out. Throw some emojis out there, because having Dr. Simpson on is absolutely fantastic. So Dr. Simpson, tell us a little bit about your education. How did you tell us about your journey through the science field?
Sure. So I hate to start this early, but honestly, I always tell the story because at 7 years old is when I fell in love with meteorology. So I was on the playground. I remember I was on the monkey bars, and I overheard some teachers talking about this thing that comes in the night and that it might hit one house and miss the other. And I thought, what is this thing? I have to learn more about it. I found out it's called a tornado. And so I got my parents to take me to the library, and I checked out every book they had on tornadoes and was fascinated. And from then on, I wanted to be what I thought was called a tornadoologist, but it's actually called a meteorologist. And so my whole trajectory from there was to take all the math classes that I could so I could make sure that I could study meteorology. And back then we didn't have the internet. This is going to date me. So we did not have the internet. We had the library, and there was a book, and it had all of the majors and all the schools across the country that had particular majors. That's probably something really important that that young people should know, is that all schools don't have all majors. So for meteorology, now there are several schools, but when I was looking, the only school in the state of North Carolina that had meteorology was NC State. And so that meant that if I wanted a meteorology degree, I had to attend NC State. And so the moment I realized that, everything was centered around taking the right classes to prepare me to be accepted into NC State. Now A&T has atmospheric science. UNC Charlotte, oh my goodness, UNC Asheville. I'm sure I'm missing somebody else, and of course NC State. So there's several choices, but then there was not. And the other really good thing about this is that my parents told me, look up what classes you have to be accepted into NC State. And I found out I did not have the correct amount of math classes. This was probably my freshman year of high school. I had been tracked into a math path that was not going to give me enough math to be accepted into NC State. And I was devastated. And so my parents made me go to the principal's office and asked to get permission to take 2 math classes at the same time, which was not done then. At first they told me no. So then my parents went with me to the school, and the school gave me permission, but said, if she fails, that's not on us. And I was not a student that failed. I was an A/B student. So that was heartbreaking to me, because that let me know their expectations of me. But I'm here today to tell you I took both those math classes, and I can't remember what I got, but of course it was A's and B's, and was accepted into NC State in 1995, where I entered and eventually earned my degree in meteorology in the year 2000, making me the first African-American woman to earn a BS degree from NC State University in meteorology. So that I know it's a long story, but it was a journey to get there.
But that's a really important story to share, because that wasn't that long ago. And I think sometimes people hear something like that and they think, oh yeah, but that was way back when. That wasn't that long ago. And the other thing that you said that was so important was that once you found out what it was you wanted to do, you started looking at the coursework that you needed. And fortunately, sometimes people in classrooms put up barriers that don't allow us to move forward like we need to. So you were fortunate in having parents who were supportive, who understood the need to go in and advocate for you. One of the reasons I became a school counselor is because I had someone tell me that my people don't go to college, and it was actually my school counselor that said that. And I didn't want to be a gatekeeper like that, and I didn't want students to face that. So hearing your story just reaffirms that the work that we're doing is for the right reasons. This is our why.
That's right.
So much of it. So you got your bachelor's in meteorology. So then tell me what was next.
So finding out I was the first African-American woman to get this degree, earn this degree, I thought to myself, well, what do I want to do with it now? And I knew I loved the weather and I loved people. So I thought what I would do is maybe work at the Science Museum downtown in Raleigh, and I would be the tornado lady. And I would tell the world about tornadoes. And in getting my master's, you had to read research articles. And I read a research article about the state of Black students in science education. And so this was pursuing a master's of science education. And I had to read this article, and it was life-changing because I read it and it was my story. And it was the story of Black students who are often tracked into courses that do not prepare them for science degrees. And how most Black students get on another path, and so they can't pursue science. And then the ones that make it, they're the only ones in their classes. And I thought about my experience, and for most of it, I was the only one. And then I graduated as the only one, and as the first. So I just thought, this is an area of study. I had no idea that you could study this and change my whole trajectory from being the tornado lady, to now this is what I want to study. And I want to study how we as educators contribute and can change access to education, especially for students of color. And so I decided, so my master's thesis was looking at the concerns teachers have with teaching students of color. And then after I finished that, my PhD looked at African-American parents and what they wanted to see in their science education from informal institutions. So like museums, like those things that aren't in the K through 12 school system. And so I knew when I was in my PhD program, I don't know what that job is, but I'm feeling called to work in a space where I get to encourage students of color to pursue science. And honestly, people would ask me while I was in the PhD program, what are you going to do? And I'd say, I don't know, but I feel like I'm supposed to have this PhD. And if I get to my dream job is working with students of color to help them access science. That's all I knew, not knowing that I was going to have a job exactly like that when I finished. Right. So when I got my PhD, the first job I got right after school was at the planetarium at UNC Chapel Hill. And I was there for a couple of months until the job that I'm currently in. My job has expanded much, much bigger now, but the job of director of multicultural affairs opened up about, 5 months into my job at the planetarium. And, I had to pray on it, but it was everything that I had wanted when I was in graduate school. And so I had to kind of get over the fear of not being good enough. I deal with impostor syndrome a lot, so I don't know if anyone else out there does. But I had to just kind of walk in it, look at the job description and say, if you had, because it was at NC State, it was at my alma mater, it's in my college, can they see me as an adult now? And I had to say, and the person that was in that position previously was my mentor. So I had a lot of stuff I had to kind of overcome to even think I was worthy to have that position. But I knew that I was called to do that work, whether it was that position or not. And so I would at least apply for it. And here I am.
Yes, lucky student. You mentioned having a mentor. How important is mentorship for students that are pursuing a career in the sciences?
I'll say this, well, for everybody, I think it's huge. I think oftentimes what we'll do is, especially when we're established in something, we will forget the journey that we took to get there, and that there were people in key times in our lives that helped us navigate those spaces. And so I think it's extremely important for you to have role models that have similar backgrounds from you, whether they look like you, whether they're first generation, whatever that is. Number one, to show you can do it. And also, every institution has a culture, no matter what it is. And you are not going to be an expert in that culture when you begin your journey. And so whether that's you being a student and going to higher education or whatever that transition is, doesn't matter. And so to have someone in that system, in that culture, in that institution that can tell you how to navigate it, because you will always eventually learn, but you will have a head start if you have a mentor in that system. And so I am still learning things. I've been in the job, it'll be 12 years September. I'm still learning things about higher education, but if I can give someone else my knowledge, and honestly, I still talk to my mentor all the time. She'll text me and call me, and she has been there. She has, and a lot of struggles are cyclical too. People will think we've never had this problem before, and they actually have, and it's just been slightly different. And so she's able to give me such wisdom on how she's navigated things in the past. Same thing with my parents. So you just need people who have some experience and can share that with you to be that mentor in your life.
Okay. So one of the things we were talking earlier, one of the things I remember when I first heard you speak is you talked about not having a role model when you were pursuing your meteorology degree. And I love your story about who you chose to be your inspiration to keep going, or some that gave you the inspiration and motivation. So could you share that story with folks?
Sure. So I told you I love the weather. And oh my goodness, probably when I was early teens, my brother introduced me to this comic book, which is the X-Men. And reading through the comic book, there's a beautiful Black woman, strong leader. Her name is Storm, or Aurora Monroe, for those of who are real X-Men fans. And she has the ability to control the weather, control the elements. So not only is she fierce, but she's also an amazing leader for the team. So lots of people don't know this about Storm of the X-Men, but it's not just, there's a character named Cyclops who's in the movie as the leader, but it's also Storm. And so she is so smart, so intelligent. And so I became a huge fan almost immediately. I've got hundreds of comic books, but honestly, to see a strong Black woman who was a leader of her organization, with or without powers, who also happened to control the weather. I mean, I keep a huge picture, like a painting of her in my office, because some days I just need her inspiration of her strength and her leadership. And, I want students to know that role models can come from anywhere. And there were not a lot of Black female meteorologists for me to see on in any kind of capacity. Most people see meteorologists on television, even though meteorologists work in all sorts of places, but they see them on television. And there was one Black woman on the Weather Channel that I would see sometimes. But Storm was there consistently for me when I was a teenager. And really, I did a lot with imposter syndrome within myself, thinking I'm not good enough. And so just having her leadership as a role model for me was really important, and not giving up and just fighting for what I knew what was right, and my believing in myself and my capabilities.
That's a great story. You talked about imposter syndrome. And I think it's something that a lot of folks go through when you're in a environment where you haven't seen anyone that looks like you before that, where you do question your abilities. I mean, I think I experience imposter syndrome, kind of on a regular basis, more than I want to, and you really have to work through things because you know what you're capable of doing.
Mm-hmm.
Have to match that up with your heart and your head and get that matched up. For people who don't know a lot about imposter syndrome, there's a fantastic book by Claude Steele called Whistling Vivaldi, and that's all about imposter syndrome. Or you can always Google it. So for those of you that are just joining in, we're here with Dr. Simpson from North Carolina State University, who was talking to us about the work that she's doing with student engagement and student diversity in the sciences field. So please, if you have any questions or comments that you'd like to ask of Dr. Simpson, throw them in the box. Please make sure you throw us some emojis, throw some love up there, and share this out, because this is a story and this is information that other students need to hear. So one of the things I'm working on here is bringing career stories to students and to families, because we don't always know about what's out there. Sometimes we just know what's in front of our face or what's within our families. So having folks like Dr. Simpson come on and talk about the work they do is definitely a plus for all of us. So Dr. Simpson, tell me a little bit. So what kind of problems do you have to deal with in your programs and the work that you do?
Wow. I tell people sometimes like I'm a professional firefighter because there's a lot of fires that I have to put out, and they can range really from anything to a student forgot to take a course and they're about to graduate, and I need to look at their transcript and see if anything fits the description of the class they needed so that they can graduate, to I have a student and they've had a family emergency and they can't be in school anymore, and how do we support them through that and get them the resources that they need. Right now I'm trying to make sure my students are okay, especially with the state of the nation, and that's with COVID, and that's also with the deaths of Breonna Taylor and George Floyd, and just making sure that they know that, again, that they do have a second home, that we do care about them, because they might not be in spaces wherever they are that they can talk to a community like they can talk with us. And they have, we're going to have a call on Friday, a Zoom call, a Thursday, where we're just going to kind of be there for each other and support each other. And or it could be talking to a department and how do they make their processes more inclusive, whether that's thinking about graduate admissions or thinking about how to create community in that department. Like, all those things will come up in just a couple of hours of my day. Right. And so those are just a tiny little piece of the issues that that I have to deal with on a daily basis.
So what are some of the science fields that students are studying that you work with?
Oh my goodness. Okay. I'm just going to think of some of the students right now and have a smile on my face. So I have chemists that have gone to dental school and law school. And I have a chemist right now that's at Caltech, and he's working on solar energy. I have students that have degrees in meteorology, and one's on television and one has his PhD, and he did tornado research and sent me a picture of a tornado, so I live vicariously through him. I've got students that are getting their PhDs in marine science and physics, and I have some that do analytics, like they got their undergraduate degree in math and decided to get their master's in analytics. I have, oh my goodness, lawyers and doctors and nurses and just all over the place.
So we have Jessica Claire Jones here with us, and she says she's sitting here with her girls, Lily and Elizabeth. Hi, Lily and Elizabeth. They're 18 years old. So they have questions. What is it like to learn meteorology?
Oh, I'd love that you all have questions. Okay, first, it is fun and it's hard work. So for me, some of the really, really fun things were for 2 weeks, I got to go outside and look at clouds, and I had to figure out the cloud types. And I absolutely love that. It was very hands-on and real and tangible for me. One of my other favorite things is I got to hand draw a weather map. And so you get a lot of weather data, and you had to find out where's the cold air, where's the warm air, where is the air circulating like a counterclockwise, kind of like a tornado, or clockwise. And that would tell you if there's going to be, rain, clear skies. And I got to hand draw all of that and color it with my colored pencils. And it was just the best. But I do want to tell you, there is a lot of mathematics involved in meteorology, and that was something I didn't know before I went into it, and I had to learn because it's a lot of calculus, and that wasn't something that I necessarily knew in the beginning, but I had a lot of friends, and we did study groups together, and so just know that whatever that you have to kind of whatever field you want to go into, there's going to be some great days and there's going to be some challenging ones, but just know that you can do it. And there's lots of strategies. And again, having friends and us, we would get together and we would just do math together in the library, and that helped get through it. But also the professors were awesome too. And also computers. There's a lot of computers in meteorology because some of the math is really complicated because it's really the physics of the atmosphere, if you think about it like that. And sometimes the math is so high up there that only a computer can figure it out. So we would learn computer programming. I had to learn that. And I sat in the computer lab, and my friends helped me figure that out too. And but ultimately, it was a lot of fun. And there are lots of meteorology programs out there. And so know that there's no meteorology program that's exactly the same everywhere. So if you're interested in meteorology, compare NC State to UNC Charlotte to the University of Oklahoma. Like, check these different places to see, what do they learn? Maybe they learn about broadcast because you want to be a broadcast meteorologist. So,
okay, yeah. One of our viewers, Teresa, did say that the University of Oklahoma and Texas A&M have great programs as well. So
there's another thing. There's faculty there. The people who teach you are experts in the field, and they have specific things they're interested in. So, for example, I had a student in meteorology once I started working at NC State, and there's this very famous program called a Vortex Project. And so where you chase tornadoes, basically, to find out information about tornadoes. And one of my students got to go on Vortex too. And so he got to, even though we were in North Carolina, one of our faculty members studies tornadoes. So he got to be a part of that research group. They drove to the Midwest with over 100 researchers, and they got to do all this tornado research. So those are wonderful schools that were listed in the comments. And so when you do your research, you can find out what's this school interested in and what aspect of meteorology is this school interested in. Just kind of compare.
Oh, that's great. That's great information. So the young ladies have another question. They want to know, do you know anything about marine biology? And then do you have any advice for children who want to become a meteorologist? And what advice would you have for a child who wants to be a marine biologist?
Oh, well, we're really lucky because both of those degrees are in the Department of Marine, Earth, and Atmospheric Sciences, which is the department I graduated from. And so let's see, advice. So I would say for both the potential meteorologist and potential marine biologist, you want to make sure you're taking math and science courses. Of course, all the courses, but whenever you're thinking about studying science, math and science are the core of everything. I love to say that. So I'm a person of faith. I love to say that math is the language of God. A lot of things are explained in science through mathematics.
Okay.
So just take that seriously. I know you are anyway. You're brilliant students, but know that don't be afraid of math and science classes. Take those. Have lots of fun with them. Join science clubs after school, because whenever you're thinking I might want to do this, then start being involved in that thing. I was in science clubs. I read the meteorology books on the side. Read those books. Do camps. Some of my friends are doing, especially now, they're doing like online talks, online science demos, all sorts of things. This is the time to do it. And the other thing I would say, if someone, wherever you are in your journey, make sure that when you're applying to college, to put all these things down in your application. So if it's your personal statement, or if it's like list your activities. So for instance, you tell me you want to be a marine biologist. List, I did all these science clubs. I took all these science classes, because what the university is looking for is, okay, you tell me you're passionate about it. So what have you done?
Right.
They're looking for evidence of that. So in your essay, you tell them how much you love those areas, how long you've loved those areas, and what you have done with your own personal time to better you in those areas, to get, because honestly, some of the best teachers aren't just inside the classroom, but it's outside the classroom. And we live in a day now where you can email a marine biologist, you can email a meteorologist, and you can connect with them and ask them this kind of questions we're talking about today. What's your day look like? What classes should I take in high school? And honestly, they want more meteorologists and marine biologists in the world. So they're going to be so happy to talk to you. So excited. So please do that.
Okay, so did you hear that, Lily and Elizabeth? You can write to those meteorologists and those marine biologists, send an email, and get more information. I think that's such great information, because I'm always talking with my students about, okay, you're telling me that you like to do this, but when I look at your activity list, I don't see any evidence of that. I don't see anything that connects what you're telling me you want to do to what you have been doing.
Right.
So I'm always, find ways to connect what it is you think you want to do with whatever, current job you have, or whether it's a volunteer position. One of my young men was interested in becoming a doctor. And I said, so how is that manifesting itself in your daily life? So he went, started volunteering at the hospital, got a wonderful opportunity to job shadow a doctor. And what I love is that out of that experience, when we were debriefing about it, he talked about he never realized how important nurses were.
Yes.
To a hospital, because he got to see everybody in their own environment. And so I said, I'm so glad you saw that, because hopefully now when you become a doctor some years later, you'll realize how important your nurses are to your practice. So I think that's absolutely fantastic information and advice that you're giving students to do that. It's just so important to do that. Mm-hmm. And Jessica has said, we did that. It was amazing, and she said, "Thank you so much." So that's,
of course,
that's Lily and Elizabeth's mom. So what else would you say for students to do? So, for example, one of the things I always encourage my students to do is to look at the professional associations that may be associated with their career field. So what professional associations are you a member of, or that you work with?
I'm not a member of this, but there's a group of African American meteorologists, and we have this kind of group chat type of thing, where we put job opportunities and all sorts of things. And that's really important to me, because when I was an undergrad, I felt very isolated. And didn't know that there was this community out there that looked like me that were going through similar things. But now this group exists out there, and they meet at American Meteorological Society gatherings, and it's called oh my goodness, color of change. I'm forgetting the name of that group. Y'all please forgive me. But it's so, I mean, I've gotten one of my students a job opportunity through that group. We've connected with the potential graduate student through that group. So that organization is amazing. When I was in graduate school, I was a part of the National Association for Research and Science Teaching. One of the things I did not realize before I became a member of this group is I had to read a lot of articles in graduate school. And the people who were writing these articles, the experts, were at these meetings.
Oh,
and that did not sink in. And because I just didn't have any, at that time, I didn't have a mentor to tell me, Jamila, you need to be going to these meetings. And my colleagues my peers were going, like friends were going and go, we just got back from NARST. Oh, okay. I had no idea what that was. And then someone who ended up being my PhD mentor, African-American woman, came into the department. And she said, Jamila, you really should be going to NARST. And I said, I don't know what that is. And she was like, Jamila, that's where opportunities happen. This is where the experts are in the field. And the next year she took me. And so I went as one of her students, and we presented there. And from presenting there, we had maybe 20 people come to our workshop. The next year, it was 40 people. The last year we did it was close to 100 people were in our workshop. And from there, I started getting all these professional connections. I got my first published article through that organization just from being there.
right.
So there's a musical Hamilton, being in the room where it happens.
Mm-hmm.
These professional organizations are the room where it happens.
Yes.
Make those connections. I really just didn't know. And that's the truth, that most, first generation, just there are groups of people that no one's kind of walked that path. And so you don't know. So whatever field you're thinking about, there is a professional organization for you. And they might even have what we call affinity groups. Like NARST did have a women in science education group as part of it. And so you can not only be a part of that greater organization, but the smaller subgroups that are a part of that organization as well.
Right. That is so important. That again, that advice is like so spot on. One of my students was going into computer engineering. And when he was in high school, I said, there's the National Society for Black Engineers. And he goes, I've never heard of that. And I said, and they have a high school chapter. So you really should look into that. And because he was the type of student that he was, he looked into it. And then he went on to the University of Michigan and ended up joining the chapter there. So we were talking, we actually had connected on LinkedIn, and he said, and he was telling me about the work he was doing that summer. I said, well, how did that happen? He said, well, he goes, from that National Society of Black Engineers, I went to their conference, and I ended up talking to someone from Raytheon, and he ended up getting a summer job. And it was like fantastic. And he goes, it's all because I joined that organization. So folks out there, regardless of what field you're going into, really pay attention to the professional organizations for the different career pathways. You can find those organizations all online. I mean, everything's online now. So, just, Google Society of Electricians, Society of Electrical Engineers, Society of Mechanical Engineers, and you'll just find this information, and it really helps you. If you know a little bit about that, you might even be able to connect with somebody and end up having a mentor. So again, really check into that. So Dr. Simpson, what advice would you give to someone who was interested in coming to NC State and going into sciences, and they're a first generation college student, and underrepresented, we don't have a lot of folks in sciences. So what advice would you give to a student fitting that profile?
I would say connect with your resources. So I think when students come in because they've been really successful in high school, and sometimes some of the strategies we talk about, whether it's connecting with me or connecting with peers or going to tutoring, it feels like, well, I didn't need that in high school, so why do I need that here? And the truth is, the university is different than high school. And so you have the faculty who are teaching you are experts in the field. So, example, you're going to take chemistry. You're going to take chemistry from someone who loved it so much that they dedicated their adult life to it. And so there are upperclassmen who have navigated this path and want to help. I mean, one of my favorite things about NC State is the community that we have. And so if you are an underrepresented student coming in, first of all, you're going to get an email from me, and I'm going to tell you who I am, and I'm going to try to connect with you early. Even this summer, we've done really fun things with students. We've invited them to a virtual paint party,
Okay.
a virtual board game party, a virtual escape room.
Oh.
Just to help create community with each other. And then when they come to NC State, guess what? You're going to get another email from me. You're going to get, I mean, I've had students at my house. I've had cookouts. I've had alumni come back to talk. I teach a course for underrepresented students their first semester, just so we can create community and family. And I hope they stay engaged because as one of my alums said to me the other day, she's getting her MBA, and she met someone else, another African American woman who has her MBA, and that African American woman happened to graduate under me in meteorology, and they met at BASF, and not knowing that they had this connection, which is NC State and me, and the network is really strong and it's really vast. And here's another example. I went to Yale last summer with my kids. We went all up the Northeast, but we went to Yale. And the tour guide at Yale was a student, and he told me they have 4 advisors when they get there.
Wow.
And I sat there and I thought about all my students who just kind of want to just make it on their own. Like, I got this, and I'm not going to ask for help from you or you or you. And I thought, and at Yale, they have 4 advisors. They have their own librarian assigned when they get there. And that they understand, Yale, the institution understands, hey, resources, that's how you get through. I want our students to understand resources. That's how you get through. Also, I need my students to brag on themselves a little bit more, because that's also something that they're not, my underrepresented students haven't been great at. So I'll give you an example. After your freshman year, there's a scholarship. And I had a student ask me to write her letter of recommendation. But her resume didn't have anything on it. So I thought, well, what am I going to say? She's great in my class, but what am I going to say? So I Googled her. And she'd done all this amazing work in high school. She just hadn't put it on her resume.
Oh my goodness.
And that happens all the time. I'll have students, particularly of color, think they haven't done anything.
Right.
And because I have a relationship with them, I'm able to pull and go, no, you've done this, you're more than qualified. Kind of help them see that. So folks like me and other colleagues at NC State, we know the university. We know what people are looking for when they're looking at your resume, just all sorts of things. So we'll work together. We'll do this together, but we're there to help you navigate and graduate and thrive at NC State.
Oh my goodness, this is so good. I'm sitting here learning so much. I'm thinking, oh, which student can I pass this on to? I'm already thinking, I know who I need to make sure that they see this interview if they haven't already. one of the things I always like to do before we end, I'm a big reader, and I just love for people to connect with books all the time. So I always feature a book toward the end. And this was one I said, oh, this is a great one. I'm still in the process of reading this. Um, this is called Making Black Scientists a Call to Action. And this book actually came out last year. And it was written by Mary Beth Gassman. And I know I'm going to butcher this poor gentleman's name, Taiwei Yun. And they're both professors. I think Mary Beth is now, they're both, she's at Rutgers now. She was at, I think, University, I think she was at Penn. And he does some work with her at Rutgers also. But this came out last year. And what they did is they looked at the science programs at 10 HBCUs and looked at what was it about their STEM programs that helped students to be successful. So they were kind of coming up with a blueprint. So again, for anyone that's interested, like I said, I always like to share a book toward the end. So this might be something that might be of interest to folks to get some information. So to wrap it up, Dr. Simpson, so what is your days looking like during this COVID thing? How are you doing? How are you taking care of yourself during this time?
I'm still working on that. Honestly, so one of the best part of the job are my students, and that is the honest truth. And I didn't realize, I got to be careful when I talk about them because I can start crying really easily. I didn't realize how much they fed me back.
Right.
And so when COVID first happened, I'm an introvert. I might not come across like that in this interview, but I really am. And when COVID first really hit, I just kind of, fight or flight. I kind of just was like, let me just work. Let me just do my computer work. And, just that kind of introverted type of work. And once, I did events for the students, but it was, I'm doing this for these events for you.
Right.
And then after a couple of months, we had a Zoom call with the students, and just talking. It was just a back and forth, and I needed that so much. And I hadn't realized how much I missed seeing them on a daily basis, just talking to them about how their day's going. And it just began to fill up something inside of me I didn't know was empty, basically. And that, having that kind of relationship with them, where we can talk back and forth as a group, as a family, really is self-care for me. Because I have been through that same struggle that they're going through, and we're all really collectively going through it together right now. And just who they are means so much, and I'm so proud of them. And other than that, I did get, this is just a silly fun thing, I did get an inflatable boat.
Oh, okay.
And when I can talk my husband into it, we will inflate it and we'll go to the lake. There's like a secret path where people aren't walking around, and we'll go with the kids, and we'll just go to the lake and sit out there for about an hour or two on the water. And that, helps ground me and focus me and kind of bring peace while I'm out there. But yeah, my students and getting some time on that lake on my inflatable boat, it does help with the self-care department.
Well, I am so glad you're at least thinking about taking care of yourself and doing something that's just for you, because you're just valuable for us to let you burn yourself out here.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for agreeing to do this. Like I said, from the moment I first heard you speak, I was just like, wow, this is someone that I want to stay connected with, because I just feel like you're inspiring. You really are. I'm not planning on going into science, but when I listen to you talk, when I hear about the work you do, when I see the connection that you have with your students, and you can tell by the way you're talking about them, I love all of that because I think teaching is all about building relationships. And kids are either advantaged or disadvantaged by what we do. And I can help all of your students are advantaged by having you in their life. So I just thank you so much for doing what you're doing because,
Thank
you
you.
make the difference in this world. So we have a comment from Jessica. She says she has to sign off, and this was really amazing. She said that her girls were impacted by the mentoring piece you shared, and they're also delighted to have you answer their questions and address them by name. And they said they'll be in touch when they're older. They're in NC, and they live 20 minutes from NC State.
Awesome. We would love it.
So thank you, Lily and Elizabeth. We thank you so much for joining in.
Also, can I just say, Lily and Elizabeth, you don't have to wait till you're older. You can reach out. I promise. You can go ahead and reach out.
Yeah, hear that, guys? So what I'll do, like at the end in the show notes, when I go back and I'm putting everything together, I'll make sure it's all right if I put your email in there for NC State. So if anyone has additional questions for Dr. Simpson, that's where you can get in touch with her. Again, I just thank you so much for agreeing to do this. I'm always pleasantly surprised by how willing people are to share and to help students. And as I said, I'm just such a fan of yours from afar that I said, oh, she's probably going to say no, but let me ask you anyway. I was like a little kid. Oh my God, she said yes. She said yes. I was like really happy about that. So I know my husband tells me I'm a nerd.
No, my imposter syndrome kicked in. I was like, did she mean to send this to me?
Yes, you did.
So thank you so much. I really appreciate this.
I appreciate you too. So folks, this is we're coming to the end of our college conversation. So you want to be a scientist, and our guest was Dr. Simpson from North Carolina State University. Please stay tuned next week when I will be featuring. So you want.
Hey, folks. So we're back. So thank you so much for tuning in to hear about Dr. Simpson. As I said, I wanted to replay this because I am just so happy for her and the new position she has, because I know it's going to make such a difference for all of the students who will come through that doorway. She's going to be the Assistant Dean for Inclusive Excellence for the College of Sciences at North Carolina State. And if you'd like to read the press release about it, you can find it here at this URL, and it will give you all kinds of great information about her new position, what she's done in the past. So one other thing that I did want to share with you, and I hope I'm telling you, sometimes sharing things, it can get a little crazy, but I want to share one more thing on the screen with you. So hopefully I can get this. Oh, I can get this set up. Okay, so let's see if this is going to show up right. Okay. So this is a program that is coming up in February, and I wanted to put it up there so you can save the date. I had the opportunity to attend this. I want to say I attended in 2020? I'm not sure. COVID has my date so different in my head. But this Dr. Simpson actually had this on her LinkedIn page recently, and I am so looking forward to this. I am so looking forward to this. So it's the Diversity in STEM Symposium, and it will be at North Carolina State. You can see the date there, so please mark it as save the date. But one of the things that I really love is that this year, it's also going to be, this year in 2022, it's also going to be available online. This is such a fantastic program because you hear speakers who are in different STEM fields, very diverse people talking about their experiences, giving you great information. So I wanted to make sure that you had this in your on your calendar. And you guys know me, so make sure you get this, get a snapshot of it, do whatever you need to do. Again, I'll be putting this. This is on my Facebook page. I'll be putting it on my Facebook page again. I'll be tweeting it out. It'll be on my LinkedIn page. Also, you could look at Dr. Simpson's LinkedIn page and follow her there. But I think this is something that is really, really important for the community to know about. And excuse me, just wanted to make sure that you had the opportunity to know about this. So, you folks know I'm always about a book. And lately I've been on this kick about children's books. I really am going, really getting into children's books more than I thought I would. But you know, it's so important that our young folks start reading. And it's important that they're reading on their own, that we're reading to them. I'm a big proponent of literacy and using your public services. So for those of you who don't know me, you know that I serve on the Board of Trustees for the Cumberland County Public Library. And actually this Thursday is going to be my last meeting. I'll be rolling off after a few years, and I'm so sad about that, but they're not going to get rid of me that easily. I'll be hanging around and, you know, just looking in at the window. That's what I told them I'd be doing. But I just wanted to introduce you to a new children's book that just came out that my copy came today. Yay! Came just in time so that I could share it with you. So we talk about literacy, but one of the important things for our students is also that they understand financial literacy. And I was, you know, I'm on LinkedIn every day, and I was on LinkedIn, and a gentleman had put on there, had posted about a book that he had just published because he was teaching his young son about investing. So I just wanted to share this book with you. It's JB Learns About Investing, and it is by Jonathan Barrett Jackson Sr., illustrations are by Cameron Wilson. And in the book, Mr. Jackson is talking to his young son about how to use his money to buy shares, how to buy stocks. But what I love about it is that it's developmentally appropriate. So this is really good for a young kid, for a young person. And then we'll just work on finding books that just takes them up the ladder so that by the time that they're in college or before they go to college, they know all about investing so that when it comes time to talk about how to pay for college, their investments will have taken care of all that. So folks, this is Dr. B from Steps to the Future. Please join in with us next week. I really hope to have for us another speaker. It's just, you know, the holidays, it's been kind of tough getting people in. So those of you who I will be reaching out to, please say yes. I'd love for you to say yes. And again, the book is JB Learns About Investing. This will make a fantastic Christmas present for that young person in your life. So again, Dr. B from Steps to the Future, where my job is to help families eliminate random acts of college planning. So if you have a junior who is thinking about going to college and you need some extra assistance, please reach out to me because I do have some openings right now on my roster. So again, see you next Monday and have a fantastic evening. Take care, everyone.